And I think one of the tidier signings, and you've already made mention of this, Chris, is Jimmy Vesey. Now, this is a guy that the Leafs were in on originally when his rights came up in Nashville, and he ended up signing with the Rangers. I believe Vesey Sr., his father at the time, worked for the organization, and I believe his brother was in the system somewhere, and I don't believe either of them are still with the organization. However, Jimmy now is at 1 year, $900,000. And what I found really interesting when I was looking at his stats, you look at a player like Jimmy Vesey. In his 3 years in New York, he scored 17, 17, and 16 goals. Obviously, last year was a disaster for everybody in Buffalo. Jack Eichel, Jeff Skinner, right on down. Wayne Simmons, I guess, was a part of that for a little bit too. Everybody had a bad year, so Jimmy Vesey had a bad year in Buffalo. But my thing is, Jimmy Vesey's a guy that you would say out of 4 years, he's had 3 where he hit 16, 17 goals. Compare and contrast that with a guy like Andreas Johnston, who, yes, we love. Great person, great attitude, and a very skilled player. However, Andreas Johnston has 1 season where he has 8 goals and 1 where he has 20. And then last year, which was unfortunately cut short because of injury. For the money in on a value proposition, that's some pretty tidy work by Kyle Dubas to get a guy that you could probably reasonably project to get 12 to 15 goals in maybe a third line role on this team.
Exactly. And that's how the Leafs know they have to try to win. I mean, when you allocate all the money they have to the top of the roster, you have to find some bargains that can play at the bottom of the roster. And it just so happens this free agency plays perfectly in many ways into the hands of a team like the Leafs, because I think that they're unafraid to make some of these bets, even knowing that they might not all turn out. And I'm not saying it'll be Jimmy Vesey, but it's possible one of these signings, the guy just isn't good enough to be in their top 12 or 13 forwards, and they got to pay him $900,000 to play for the Marlies. Well, the Leafs are willing to do that. Not many teams are willing to do that. And I think it's more likely to say that he's going to have a bounce back year. He's going to become a contributor on this team. And as you rightly point out, he makes a quarter of what Andreas Johnsson was making to do it.
Right.
And, I don't think he'll fully replace Johnsson. I'm pretty high on Johnsson, actually. As a player, but I think
that's reasonable. I'm not trying to detract from him by saying that. It's just you did have to lose Johnson's salary, right? So
you just couldn't be paying third liners $3 million, except maybe Alex Kerfoot. But I mean, that's essentially what happened here, right? They traded Kapanen and Johnsson just because they couldn't pay those guys what they were making in a cap structure and still be competitive. So I love these signings. I just think there's no downside if you're Toronto. And I still think Joe Thornton's coming here too. I don't know how this is all going to fit.
That'd be cool.
Okay.
I don't.
There's a bomb. What? Really?
Well, let me reclassify this a little bit more accurately. I think that they remain very interested in Joe Thornton, right. And I think he is open to the idea. It's not that obviously if it was done, they would announce it. It'd be on the Leafs PR account. But I think that there's some mutual interest there still. So even the bottom 6 is still a bit of if we're going to ask what the lines look like I have no idea where this all fits with all these guys they're bringing in. And if they added someone like Thornton, it's what kind of points me again to trades. I think the Leafs are in on everything right now.
So this was right before Jason Spezza re-signed with the Leafs. I notoriously on this podcast said, I don't know if they're bringing him back. So
I know that was
no, you said he wasn't an everyday player.
Yeah, I don't know if he was an everyday player, and he might not be, though. So here's my question, though. So he's back, but he's at a different point in his career. If Thornton were to come to the Leafs at a different point in his career, are those guys everyday centers, or do they maybe move a little bit more to the wing?
Well, I mean, we saw Spezza play the wing a bit last year. I think that they're probably wingers with center potential, and look, they're injury insurance too if it happens, right? I mean. They can play center in a pinch if you sustain some injuries at that position. So I don't think it hurts to have guys that can do it. I just don't know what the lineup's going to look like. I'm kind of fascinated by it. That's what I like the Vesey signing, but I saw it and I was like, where are all these bodies going? Remember they signed Barabanov, and I don't know a ton about him. What I've heard from the scouts, let's have modest expectations of him in the sense I don't think he brings much offense. Likely doesn't project to bring a lot of offense to the NHL, but I assume he's going to play. I mean, part of the way the Leafs keep luring these guys is that they give them a legitimate opportunity to play, right? And they obviously have a good relationship with Dan Milstein, who happens to represent a lot of the Russian players. But, Ozhiganov played here. It didn't work out. But, he can't say that the Leafs signed him on a promise and then only gave him 20 games and sent him to the AHL.
And they gave him his equipment too.
Exactly.
Remember that story? He walked off with his equipment.
And I heard, and he did a Russian interview where he criticized Babs too.
Wow.
Like pretty harshly.
I would love to read
very
that.
Severe words. You can probably find it with one Google search. Like it was like a scathing teardown of like the way the Leafs do business. But anyway.
It's a tradition every summer. When the Russian players go back, we finally get the translation, and Kucherov's trashing like Killorn or something. Remember that?
And to be fair, he might have been misquoted. Like I shouldn't actually put this on Oziganov because I never asked him, but I actually don't know if I ever talked to him other than a quick hello.